Yeah. You said it's affecting you.
What's that?
Dan.
Yeah. But we're live now, innit? So we'll come into it.
Mm-hmm. Why don't StreamYard put the YouTube link here? Like, that would be a lot easier, wouldn't it? Oh, no, you can, right? You just do share.
No, that's it.
No, okay. Very, very annoying. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Yes. All right, let's get cracking then. Hello, welcome to another Touchline Fracas podcast. No, it's not Touchline Fracas, it's TouchyGooners. Hello, everybody. I'm used to hosting the old Touchline now. I wasn't paying attention. Dan, Shabs, Leroy, welcome to the podcast. It's this heat, man. It's this heat. I can't function properly. Leroy, you're wearing a black balaclava. How are you actually functioning right now?
Well, yeah, you're lucky I'm by my patio door here, so it's all right. I'm getting the cool breeze from outside.
He's probably got AC in every room, man.
Yeah, it's true. It must be nice. It must be nice. It must be nice. We know what people who have too much money do with. They make bad decisions with their money, as we'll get into with Arsenal in the coming hour or so.
He got a piggy bank out, and now he wants to throw it all down the drain.
Yeah, guys. Just a quick bit of housekeeping before we start. We released a James Maddison scouting piece on Patreon this week. So if you haven't signed up to the Patreon and you're interested in a bit of a James Maddison talk, go sign up to the Patreon. Very interesting piece. We went through what James Maddison would bring to the club, and whether we think he is actually going to sign or not, which is a topic of discussion. Varying degrees of I would say
optimism.
Optimism Sean's a bit delusional. If I'm, if I have to say, I think Sean would say 50%, but in his heart, I know he meant like 80%. I know he really feels like the Maddison deal is going to happen. He just didn't want to say it live on a podcast.
He's lost too much money to me, bro. He wants to bet me. I want to listen. I don't know if he listens to this, but I'm going to let him go on for a bit, and then I'm going to offer him a bet. I know he's a sucker for it. Like, this is what I do. This I've got the belly on because I'm a hoodlum. I'll take his money.
All right, guys, look, let's start with the friendly against Rangers because we actually haven't spoken about it yet. So it was I thought it was a lot more balanced team to what we saw against Hibs. I think the Hibs game, I didn't really look too much into it. I felt like it was just a go out there, get some minutes under your belts, and go out there and play, lads, kind of thing. Whereas Rangers, I felt like there was a bit more direction in what we were trying to do. Obviously, we saw Balogun out wide, Aubameyang through the middle. We saw a debut for Nuno Tavares. And we saw the Partey, El Neni, and Emil Smith-Rowe, whether you call it a midfield three or Emil Smith-Rowe playing as a 10. So, Leroy, I'll come to you first. What did you make of the friendly? And did you get an idea of anything that Arteta was trying to do? Was you impressed by anything in particular?
Not really. So this preseason, I haven't really noticed anything sort of obviously striking that he's trying to implement at all. I find it a little bit weird this preseason. So I just feel like it's a team that's out there to get minutes in their legs. That's what I see when I watch them. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. But then obviously we are a long way behind in terms of fitness, and they're about to start their season. So
they start next week. This weekend, actually. They start this weekend.
But honestly, I didn't really see anything different. It just looks like people that are trying to get minutes into their legs, to be honest. I didn't like Balogun out wide. I wasn't really a big fan of that. I just don't feel it suits his attributes. I'd have loved to have seen him switched over because I think he's okay with his back to goal, and he was quite loose and quite poor actually in this game, where he was not too bad in the last game versus Hibernian. And I hope that Arteta still gives him a chance, even though he wasn't great that game. But apart from that, the people who were sharp, Pepe looked sharp. I'll give it to him. Pepe looked sharp. Partey looked sharp. ESR looked sharp. Tavares was decent. So yeah, I mean, we can't complain. So I really find it hard to take a lot out of these preseason games, particularly the first slot. I feel like the ones right before the season starts, you get a little bit more out of them. So I'm not really taking too much from it either way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I thought it was a game that I felt like was going to be quite tough for us. After watching a Hibernian game, I felt like it wasn't great. I think the first half was probably we had some chances and we kind of died out for a spell. And whereas this game, I expected it to be really, really tough. Rangers are they're the SPL champions, like you said, Leroy, very far ahead in their preseason campaign than we are. Although they were without a few players, I'm told they were without quite a few key players. I expected a much tougher test from Rangers. And it surprised me that we were sort of like just creating chances at will, really and truly. I mean, first half, we should have been about 6-0 up, really and truly. We have Oba to thank for, I think, did we only score one goal in the first half, was it? I think. Can't remember now, actually. But Dan, I'll come to you first. I'll come to you second. Sorry, Dan. Similar question to Leroy, really. Did you take much from this preseason friendly, and what was you encouraged maybe by the fact that we did create so many chances?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I've said I want to see out of this preseason, because last year, we heard quite a bit about the fact that Arteta didn't get his preseason, didn't get to implement his tactical ideas, etc. Like we basically had 3 days between games all year, right up until the end. So we didn't really get that time to work on different sort of tactical aspects that he wanted to do. So for me, what I want to see coming out of this preseason is, a way for us to create chances, a way for us to score goals. I think one thing that I did like was the pressing, the high press, because that's something that I think we could have done a lot more last season. I think we got good success out of it when Arteta first came to the club. We did that, took some good effect. I think back to that first half against Chelsea, where we had them under duress for about the first 35 minutes till they brought on an extra midfielder. The 2-0 against United at home, we pressed from the front really, really well, and we didn't really see any of that other than a couple of games last year. So I would like to see that come back. I think we did that to good effect against Hibs and against Rangers. So Nketiah, that seems to be something that he's excellent at. That's a point that you've raised in the group, Lewis, that he seems like a freak when it comes to pressing from the front.
Ridiculous, right? I don't think I've never seen anything like it before. He only gets chances unless it's like him closing down goalkeepers or closing down defenders. It's really, really strange.
He's a pickpocket, but it's a good trait that he has. It's going to take him far. He's going to get a good 3 or 4 goals a season, every 38-game season, if he plays like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, he's just got this uncanny ability. Shabs, I'll bring you into the conversation. We saw Balogun start from the left, and me personally, I didn't really give a shit, if I'm being honest. That's my opinion. We moan that Balogun doesn't get minutes. We moan that Oba doesn't play up front. Like, we can't have the best of all worlds at all times, right? If we want the kid to play, we want Oba to play up front. This seemed like a reasonable solution to me, especially in pre-season. So what did you think of Balogun's performance, number one? And were you concerned maybe that Balogun was playing on the left and, not in his ideal position?
No, I'm not concerned. It's a lot better just in terms of the overall balance that, Arteta didn't go with Nketiah and Aubameyang up top, etc., etc. Like it was a bit more balanced with Balogun, just in terms of the attributes and the skill sets. I'm not bothered in a pre-season game. I wouldn't be bothered if that happened in the league game, to be fair, or a cup competition. I think There's a lot of talk about Balogun. We know what he's done at youth levels. We know how he's looked at youth levels. He looks extraordinary. It's about men's football. It's about how we can transition into men's football. We haven't seen a lot of him in men's football. I certainly haven't. I need to see him get games. I'm not mad if he's getting games, from the left wing to start with. There's still things that you can learn. We were discussing this a little bit on Saturday. Arsene Wenger famously used to do this a lot in terms of blooding players, strikers out wide, helping them to learn and develop spatial awareness, helping them to become a bit more refined, in certain aspects and areas of their game as well. So it's not something that I particularly worry about. I think the priority for Balogun, what Balogun himself should be most concerned with, is getting minutes and getting games. So yeah, and it's pre-season. We don't have, we're players short. I think that's absolutely clear. If you look at our personnel and our squad, I'm not sure about the wide players that we've got throughout our squad at this point in time in terms of fitness and readiness to participate at this stage of pre-season. So he's got to do something there, So I'm not mad at it at all. Right? It is what it is.
Hey, everyone needs to shut up, bro. Like, I'm fine. Yeah. I've got a house that's appropriate for this type of stuff. So you know what I mean.
Leroy, you've got fans, man. They seem to be concerned about your health. How does it feel having others concerned about your health for once, as opposed to you concerning yourself with other people's health?
I am good. I am gravy. No one needs to worry about me. Let's just talk football. Come on.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, Shabs, I think you raised some good points there. Like I said in the before I came to you, I didn't really see any big deal about it, really. I was happy to see Balogun play. He didn't play well. I thought he played better against Hibs when he was up front, and that's to be expected. He's a striker, right? We all like Balogun as a striker. Leroy, any concerns that maybe this is where we could see Balogun this season? And, because myself personally, I think he should probably go out on loan. It doesn't look like Lacazette's going to go. I think we're probably going down the route of Lacazette staying, maybe signing a new contract, and we'll try and move him on next year, maybe. So I don't really see the minutes here for Balogun, if I'm being honest. And I want him to play. He's 18, 19 years old. I think he could go to the Championship or, somewhere else on loan and really fill his boots, because I think he's a really talented footballer. And I think maybe he can come back next season and be ready to, contribute to us at a serious level, and maybe be further along in that path to success in Oba. Because this is another thing we need to start looking at now. Is Oba's 31? Is he Oba 31? So we need to start looking at his successor. So where do you think? Oba's Balogun's future lies this season? Would it be on loan, or can you see him playing in his left-hand side?
See, this is where I disagree with you, because the first point I'll say is loans don't always go to plan, particularly especially if you're a striker and you're dependent on the players around you. If you go to a smaller club and it doesn't bang, it's hard, it doesn't suit you, then you can easily find yourself automatically being told you're not good enough and falling down. Now, if he was a mediocre youth player that came through, I'd agree with you. I'm well for putting those people on loan, or if there's so much congestion that there really isn't enough space or minutes. But for me, I think there is definitely enough minutes to have a look at him this season. We can just reassess that in January. That's not a problem. But I think Balogun has been an exceptional youth talent, clearly. And I feel that we should, like the likes of Saka, have a look at him in the first team. I really think he should have got minutes towards the back end of last season. I really think he should get the Carling Cup games and sort of the end of games and get minutes in the Premier League, just so we can have a look at him and see what he's like in senior ball. Because you never know, you could have another Smith Rowe or Bukayo Saka on your hands, and then great, we solved the problem. If we have a look at him and he's good enough, but he needs a bit more development, put him on loan in Jan, because we've got Martinelli out to the Olympics now. Obviously, we've got Lacazette that's still there, but Lacazette, we don't really need to worry about his minutes. He's not being developed by us. We shouldn't really care. He should be there to do a job when we need him, and that's it. If he has to sit whole bench for Balogun because it's the right thing to do at the time, it's the right game to bring him on, then so be it. I would like to see him given at least the first 6 months, given some of the Carling Cup games, given some of the games at the or 10 minutes, 15 minutes here at the end of games. Have a look at him. assess, see his level. If he's not at the level, send him on loan. No problem. Send him on loan in January. You'll have clubs lining up to take him. But if he is that level and he can do it, keep him about. That's just my opinion. And I don't want to see him on the left either. I do like seeing him up top. Because
I would love to see Balogun playing, right? However, I'm taking into consideration what I feel like the manager is going to do, right? So I'm looking at what our current situation is with our strikers. I feel like Lacazette's going to stay. If Lacazette's staying, he's playing. That's the way I see it. I don't see any other. I don't see any other scenario. I don't see Balogun being second choice and Lacazette being third choice. If Lacazette signs a new contract, he plays. I think that's unfortunately what's going to happen if Lacazette indeed does stay. Who knows? We might get a bid, and it takes us on to another transfer rumor that I don't particularly want to talk about because I'm not a fan of this player at all. But the way I see it is whatever happens, Balogun is going to be third choice. So do we want him having a League Cup game here or there and, 5 or 10 minutes in the league? Or could he could be out there playing 46 games in the Championship or 30 odd games in Bundesliga?
That's not a guarantee it goes well though, and that's why
it's nothing. It isn't.
I'd like to have a look at him first, so I would like to assess him in the first team before I make that decision. Basically,
yeah, I completely agree. I do.
Do you think he's going to get that opportunity though?
I think that's a different. I think that's a different matter. I think him getting the opportunity is dependent on what happens. Like, with the other strikers, we're stacked in the striking department. We are at the moment, but it's still what we should be doing. We should. I don't think we're necessarily right to send him out on loan without knowing what he can do, what he's capable of doing in the first team. And I'm not for this. Let's play him in second string games to see what he can do. I want to see what he can do with the man around it. I want to see what he can do with ESR creating chances for him. Saka running in behind, stretching defensive. Like, I want to see that stuff, not what he can do when Reece Nelson's playing out on the right and, in a kind of nothing game or a Carabao Cup game, and these lot haven't brought their A game, and then we're expecting the world from him. No, I don't want that. I think we made a big fuss about keeping him, not letting him go. We've given him a contract. There has to have been some thinking behind that. We have to reach a point where Arsenal Football Club start to demonstrate that there's a different way of thinking and there's a meaningful way of thinking behind these contract deals and these contract extensions. We can't go all out to retain this player and then just not have a really clear plan for how we intend to utilize him, because he is one for our future. But we need to gauge where he's at right now. That's what the issue is for me.
I don't know. I personally, I feel like, we need to think about, the best method of integrating these youth into our team. I think where we've gone wrong a lot in the past is putting them into the first team too early. I think where certain players, Maitland-Niles, he went on loan to Ipswich. I think he was one of their players of the season, if not the player of the season, when they're in the Championship. He came in and he was, I think, better equipped to handle the rigors of the Premier League. I think it's very, very, optimistic to expect someone like Balogun, who's played basically no senior football whatsoever, to come in and step in and be able to contribute significantly to a club like Arsenal, who has top four aspirations. And I don't think it's necessarily right to put that pressure on him. I know people might think that he's good enough, but I just think, a season away without the pressure that is going to come with this season, because this is going to be a highly pressurized season for Arsenal, where we need goals. We just came out of a season where we didn't score a lot of goals. I think it was 50 something goals that we scored in the league. An all time low for the whole time I've been watching this club seriously. And if we're going to be at the ground and watching tense 0-0s, and Balogun's coming off the bench and he's missing a chance, this, that, and the other, the atmosphere is going to be toxic, and the pressure is going to be there for him to really bag and really contribute. And I just think, you know, he should really go somewhere where he can play 25 games, 30 games, slap his goals, and he comes back and he's more ready to play first team, because 19 is still very, very young for a striker. For me, it's very, very young for a striker. A lot of them, they don't really hit real numbers until they're 22, 23, 24. You know, even older. So I would like to see him just play lots of games. You know, 10 games for Arsenal this season, I don't think it's that beneficial to him. Whereas 30 games elsewhere, I'd even loan him for 2 years probably, you know, unless he's exceptional and he comes and he starts bagging and gives you a Saka ESR like impact to the first team. I'd loan him for 2 years.
Doesn't he deserve that opportunity? Doesn't he deserve that opportunity to?
No, I don't think he does.
Why?
Because I don't think just because you, all right, deserving is a different word, right? So okay, yeah, he may deserve it. All right, he may deserve it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we should.
Right. Sorry, I do make exceptions for youth products. Yeah, this man's been at the club since he was 9 years old or something like that. He's bagged up the youth system every single level that he's played at. He's absolutely bagged up under 23s as at 18. He's doing really well. He committed to you and signed for you. You've got to show him something back. You've got to show him, listen, we believe in you. So give him that 6 months. Give him that trial period. Let him play in a couple of Carling Cup games. If he goes in Carling Cup games and does what Martinelli did in his first season, would you be saying we should then loan him out then? If he goes and gets 10, 11, 12 goals, all comps.
Do you think he's going to get the minutes to do that though, Leroy?
I'm just saying if he does. I'm saying if he does. But if he's got given that opportunity in the cup, if you're given that opportunity in the Carling Cup and the FA Cup, 10, 15 minutes at the end of games, and he does that type of thing, and he does well, will you then say loan him next season?
I hear that. I do hear that. I think that is a fair point, but I also feel like there aren't that many games to do that. If we had Europa League, I would say I agree.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Because that is
play him in every Europa game.
Yeah, that's every Europa game he starts, every Carling Cup game. That's about what? There's 6 group games.
That's 12 games, 15 games, mate. You know 12 games probably, like
FA Cup and Europa. You know, but the FA Cup doesn't start till January. We just got to. I know we're in round 2 of the League Cup because there's no Europe this time. But you know, that's like 4 or 5 games. I'm not sure it's worth keeping him here to see what he does in those 4 or 5 games, or 10 minutes at the end of the league game, you know, because knowing Arteta, he's likely not even going to get the 10 minutes because Nketiah wasn't getting his 10 minutes at the end of games, you know.
He didn't take his chance. Nketiah got bare minutes, bro. Nketiah got bare minutes. He didn't take his chance. When he got pulled back originally, he was starting games instead of Lacazette. Nketiah got his chance and he didn't do the business. So I think Balogun should get that same chance.
There's another caveat to this story. Obviously, is I obviously introduced the idea of Lacazette staying. There is obviously the possibility that Lacazette does not stay. However, we have now been linked to Chelsea's Tammy Abraham, which lays into this scenario which I'm talking about, where regardless of what happens, Balogun looks like he's going to be third choice. Now,
I need some anti-sickness tablets.
Yeah, look, Balogun, Tammy Abraham is not for me, right? I don't think he's a mid-table Premier League striker for me. I would say at best. But
is that unfair? I'm not advocating for Arsenal to sign Tammy Abraham, but is that unfair, knowing that he played for Chelsea, he scored goals for Chelsea, definitely last season. Well, I say last season, I'm talking about the season before now. You know, he played for Chelsea. They're a team with much bigger aspirations than mid-table. So, you know, he probably should have scored a lot more goals, but, you know, he was pretty important for Chelsea and as a focal point up front under Lampard. So is it a bit unfair to...
Do you know what, Shabs, yeah? You know, you see Tammy Abraham, like, I think he's yeah, let me be balanced here, yeah? Let me not say what I would normally say, like, on WhatsApp and that, yeah? I think he's a good player, yeah? But I don't think he is of the level of a top 4 team. Yeah, I think when you got the 15 goals for Chelsea, when you look through the teams that he scored against, right, there was one goal against a top 6 team, right, which was Arsenal. And if you saw that goal that he scored, it's Mustafi's giving him a gift. That game he was completely anonymous, didn't impose himself on the game. You look at his all-round play and what I think we need for a striker if we're going to be changing from Aubameyang or Lacazette kind of thing. We want a guy who is pretty much an all-rounder, which I think Tammy is. Got good back-to-goal game, and who can get behind and score, right? I think Tammy lacks in a couple of those areas. I think his back-to-goal game is very poor. I think he's got a poor first touch if the ball's being played into him with his back-to-goal. But he does have decent link up. I think he's a good combination player, and in the box, I think he is sort of sharp and alive. But for me, he's not really clinical, and I know people say all strikers aren't really clinical, but for me, Tammy's not it. He doesn't score enough headers, doesn't use his body size, doesn't really run the channels effectively. So for me, he's just not it. I think he's a decent Premier League striker. He will be good for someone like an Aston Villa and Everton. But for me, they've got better strikers than him already. So I'm just not really seeing it with Tammy. I think he will improve, but £40 million is absolute no for me. Absolute no.
I think
I agree. And sorry, Luke. And I just want to say, let me be clear. I'm not defending Tammy Abraham or saying that we should sign him. I just thought a bit of the criticism of him was harsh, but I don't think he's the player for us. And I wouldn't spend that 40 million on someone who's not really going to start ahead of Aubameyang. I just think there's no point. Not with what we've got currently. It doesn't make sense to me.
Where I think we're going wrong with this striker acquisition, I think if you're going to buy a striker, I think we're looking in the wrong age profile. Personally, if you've got Balogun there and you believe in him, he is the future. Fine, you can set a pathway plan like Shabs was talking about. You could say to him, we either go Leroy's way and we say you get minutes here and you get the cup competition. We evaluate from there, or you do me and Dan's way and we say you go out and loan. You get your 1 or 2 years loan, right? So, in my opinion, what I think we need then is, if you're saying Balogun is the successor for Oba, I think we just need a mid-range stopgap. A Lacazette type, but not a Lacazette money. I think we need someone in that 27 to 28 year bracket. Maybe, but I wouldn't pay stupid money. I wouldn't. I would just get a clear second choice striker who would be happy to do that role, can contribute off the bench, and would be a reasonable striker if Oba is off form or injured. I don't really see the point of spending £40 million on Tammy Abraham, who is 24 years old, because it's just I don't think that speaks to a trust in Balogun. I don't think that really speaks to the coach really having a clear pathway for Balogun, personally.
So,
I would slap 30 mil footings, 3-year deal.
If Tammy was a lot better and we thought he was good enough, etc., I'll do it. Because at the end of the day, we're not running a crash. Balogun needs to, if he's good enough, he needs to make his way. But
Nathan,
but Tammy isn't good enough. And the thing is, strikers, I usually give them quite a lot of time. So, for example, we have a lot of arguments in the group chat. I'll be seen in the group chat as kind of pro Eddie Nketiah, because I feel like Eddie Nketiah, these are so young. Strikers really don't. Unless they're a phenom, they don't bag till they're 25 years old. It's a game that you need experience, you need the nous, etc. up front. So if Tammy was younger, I'd give him more time. But who said he's 24? Is he 24?
Turning 24 this year.
Okay, well, if he's 24, like he's not it. He's not it. I mean, he's probably got another 2 years to develop, but it's just not someone because he's not the level. I just want someone better. If you look at someone like Isak, for example, that we were talking about, if it was Isak for 40 mil, I'll probably buy him. I'll probably take a gamble. I just wouldn't, because I don't think Tammy's as good as the level that we want to be. Simple as.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big advocate for that Ings deal for me. I think that makes the most sense for where we are as a club. I think you've got Aubameyang on the big money, who, you know, he's got 2 years left on his deal. If you go bring someone like Ings in on a 3-year deal, I think you get a reliable goal scorer. I think he gives you that Lacazette all-round play. If you wanted something a bit different from, if you wanted something a bit different from Aubameyang, where he's got some presence, he runs in behind, he's got great link-up play, great finisher. For me, I think Ings is a really, really, really good player. I think if he was European, he'd probably be rated a bit higher than what he is.
100%.
Yeah, so I think I would 100%, if we need a striker this window, £30 million for Ings, I think personally is a no-brainer. Because he's got 1 year left. I don't think he's going to be on ridiculous money. I think you could give him a reasonable contract. And he is actually a very, very, very good footballer who's really experienced as well. So that makes the most sense to me. But I don't know what this club's going to do.
I just want to move away from the striker debate because I feel like we could probably do a whole episode on this, right? We may do for the Patreon. So if you aren't subscribed to the Patreon, now is a great time to do so. You can just type in TouchyGooners on the Patreon app. We'll come up, join for as little as £3 a month. I want to just go back to the friendly. We obviously saw the debut of Nuno Tavares, who I'm very... Listen, I don't want to go too far on this guy, right? Because what I'm really wary of right now is that when Kolasinac first came, right, we saw this guy. He looked like he looked like he could run, like he had acceleration, his strength. We thought, wow, bloody hell, this guy can cross. You know, he had this nice little cutback that he could do, and ball striking looked really good. I mean, I'm thinking, oh God, we've got a decent player on our hands here. Yeah, we obviously saw the defensive deficiencies, although they weren't as bad as what they turned out in the end. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a bit cautious in my judgment of Tavares. Although what I would say, he looked pretty impressive against Rangers, if I might add. He looked like a really good physical specimen, fast, strong, very good on the ball. Great first touch, actually. I thought his technique looked really, really good, which I guess you would expect of a Portuguese player coming from Benfica. But yeah, I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on Tavares' debut. Shabs, I'll come to you. Just general thoughts, really. And are you going to push the boat out on him and say, you think he's going to be a good signing for us, or is there still we need to see a bit more?
No, I already think it's a good signing, and I'm going to go on record and say that because it's if I think about it from the perspective of filling a gap in the squad, he's a squad filler. He's not someone that I expect to come in and start. So I think we're only going to see him sparingly this season anyway. I think he's an upgrade on Kolasinac. I don't say that solely based on the 45 minutes or whatever that he had on Saturday. I've watched a few games of him, seen little bits and pieces of World Cup back. You are killing me.
Hey, these comments are absolutely ending me. I'm sorry.
You're absolutely
Paul Bradley said, "Fuck that bozo," and all he stands for, referring to Kolasinac.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of Arsenal fans.
Listen, you lot are reliving trauma, man. Baku's a distant memory in my mind, man. But I watched him when we were linked with him. I went back. I was watching Europa League games, so I quite liked him. I think physicality-wise, there isn't anything that worries me. Obviously, you think about how a player's going to adapt to the Premier League. The most, some of the most significant things are: can he cope with physicality? Can he cope with the intensity? Technically, he looks good. He looks good going forward. He looks good in 1v1 situations. I think we know that the flaw in his game is defensively. So, I think if we do see him in games, we shouldn't be surprised if he gets exposed. You know, to me, I'm thinking a little bit about Maitland-Niles in that he'll be good in those duels in terms of like his physicality and being able to recover. But he doesn't strike me as a player who can tackle well, who's positionally sound, he's in defensive situations or anything like that. But yeah, I like him. I think, you know, where's he come from? SLB. He took up positions in field. He took up a lot of positions in field when the ball was out wide on the right. But he looks good going down on the outside as well. And that was how he got his goal. Came on the outside. He didn't even look like he was powering through. He just looked like he took some strides and just opened up and then got his body in front of the man, got on his right foot and slotted it home. I think, you know, not very many would have expected that from him. So, yeah, I think at the fee for what he is, I think he will be a decent signing for us, you know.
David Ade says the only thing that worries me is his relationship with his dogs. Can't trust him in a dog park alone. Very questionable relationship with dogs, as we've spoken about before. Leroy, you know, is an interesting profile for a fullback. You know, we're not necessarily used to seeing, because he's quite a big boy, isn't he? He's like 6'1", I think. Yeah. So he's quite a big lad, and you know, obviously we want the physical element at fullback. I'm a big fan of having pace at fullbacks. We see, you know, even though Tierney isn't like rapid, but his acceleration is so useful in that position to get away from players and, you know, to get across in and to beat players off the dribble. What's your, you know, initial thoughts on Tavares and then an immediate impression that he gave you in that friendly?
So my initial thoughts. So I think everyone probably know I'm a bit of a fullback connoisseur. That's the position I like to play. So that's a position I like to watch as well, analyze. Now, he is, in terms of the profile, that's what I want from my fullback. I want someone who's athletic, who's dynamic. Dynamism in modern day football at fullback is absolutely essential. So yeah, he fits that. He looks like he fits that. He's strong, he's big, he's fast. And the good thing is he didn't look unagile, even though he was blowing out of his arse after 10 minutes. So you can tell that boy is unfit. But that'll come in time. My only thing is, all the scouting reports, because I've never seen them before, we're talking about defensive positioning and lapses in concentration. You'll never see that in pre-season. And the problem with that is people say, it's not that bad. That's what makes people a liability. So that really worries me, because all I want is he competent? As long as he's competent defensively, I'm good. As long as he's not going to cost us 3-4 goals this season, goals in 90 minutes, doing dumb shit, giving away penalties, then I'm happy. And
that was the issue with Kolasinac, right? Because going forward, he's not... I think he lost a bit of confidence, actually, Kolasinac. I really think I don't know if it was the fan criticism or, you know, maybe just couldn't be bothered. I don't know. But, you know, there was a period where, because Leroy, I ever remember you actually saying, like, do you think it's worth keeping Kolasinac on as a backup left back? Because he was doing okay, but then he just fell off a cliff. And like I said, I'm very cautious about this because I feel like now, having seen Kolasinac, I need to see a player over like fucking 2 years just to see what kind of idiotic things one man can actually do. But yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, so like I said, we'll see what happens over time, but he looked like relatively decent going forward. Quite raw, to be honest. You were saying he looked very good technically. I'm not so sure. I think he looked like he needed a bit sharpening up personally. He looked a little bit loose. But again, at fullback, I'm not that worried about that. For me, it's all about how dynamic you are. And a big part of that is fitness. Can you go up and down and up and down and up and down? And have you got the pace? All of that kind of stuff. So he looks it physically, he looks the goods. So we'll have to see over time. And as long as he's not a liability, but I don't really care that much about backups. Like, I'm more concerned because we've got problems with the ceiling of our team. So the floor of our team doesn't really concern me that much at the moment. So it's not something I lose sleep over.
Dan, I guess similar question to you, really. First impressions on Tavares. Mute, bro, mute.
Yeah, he looked all right. Like, I agree with Leroy. Like, I'm not too fussed. I think he looks like he could actually, potentially be quite good going forward. So that when Kieran Tierney eventually has his injury, we don't lose that aspect. I do think, with Kolasinac, there were some other issues. You know, when he sort of had that whole crew that he was part of. You know, with Mustafi and Özil, I think they were probably quite bad influences on him. I think Kolasinac on the Wenger looked a bit better, a bit more robust, a bit less of a chubby guy. I think when Emery came in, he seemed to lose a bit of that conditioning and then lose a bit of that motivation as well. So he's still an Arsenal player, actually. So. You know, I'm not seeing any links to him leaving, so we might end up with having three. Yeah, we might have 3 left backs and 3 right backs come the start of the season. So
brilliant.
You know, it's a funny one, but yeah, Tavares he looks all right, man. I don't think he'll be too much of an issue as long as there's no
this Nathan guy, yeah. Wait. Hold on, I can never forgive Lewis for back in the early days of Touchline Fracas saying he would take Soldado at Arsenal with Giroud as well. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
This came up the other day.
Exactly. What is this all about? We started Touchline Fracas in 2014. When did Soldado join Spurs? Like in 2012. Why would I have said I'll take Soldado from Spurs? That makes no sense whatsoever. I think you're confusing the wrong podcast, Nathan. Right? Yeah. Get your facts in order. Right, sorry, I just had to say that because he's been tweeting the account as well, saying it's like it's the biggest crime in the world to have wanted Soldado in 2012.
You keep saying
like Soldado wasn't mashing work. Like relax. We've all had bad football takes. I'm not even admitting to it, by the way. I'm just saying we've all had bad football takes, right, Nathan? I'm sure you've had bad football takes. If I scroll up in this chat, I reckon I've seen a few already. So relax, big man. Right?
Lewis got drawn out on the back.
He's getting on my fucking tip, mate.
Wow,
right?
Anyway,
be nice, man. Be nice.
Let's move on from Tavares. Finally, we've signed a midfielder. Lokonga is officially signed. I think. Look, we've spoken enough about Lokonga. I think we've all known this signing was going to happen. Leroy, I don't know if I've got your thoughts yet on record. Shabs, I think Shabs and Dan did a Patreon piece on Lokonga. So again, another plug for the Patreon. If you want to go and see our extensive thoughts on the sign of Lokonga, you can go and visit our Patreon. And we've got a whole piece just on Albert Sambi Lokonga from a few weeks ago where we did a full scouting profile on him. Leroy, yeah, so just your thoughts on the signing of Lokonga and what you think he can bring. Is it a smart piece of business?
So again, I ain't seen much of Lokonga, so I can't really comment. But from the clips and stuff that I've seen, and from the profile he looks like, and from the statistical analysis, I can't lie. That looks exactly like the type of signing you want someone to make. You want the team to be preparing for Partey when he gets old, and that's and that's exactly what you want to do. He looks like everything you'd want in your Partey heir. Your young midfielder. He looks comfortable on the ball. He looks able to progress the ball from the back. He looks press resistant, good passing range. He can move a little bit in terms of dribbling and beat the press. It's exactly what you want. So the question now is, can he step up to the level? Because Belgian football and Premier League football is down there and up there. So can he step up to the level and can he really, really make the jump? If he can make the jump and he can develop a bit more, develop defensively, that is a fantastic piece of business. I have no problem. Even if that bombs, I do not have a problem with that kind of signing.
Yeah, I think we all pretty much agree on that. I'm very excited to see him. I mean, God knows what's happening to our pre-season games. You know, we've had a tour locked off due to COVID and all sorts. So I don't know. I know the club are frantically searching around for pre-season friendlies, but I'm quite excited to see Lokonga because I don't expect him to be, you know, Partey's partner. I mean, I at least I hope not. Nothing would surprise me with this club, mind you. But Shabs, Dan, I'm assuming you guys are in the same boat as Leroy. You know, in terms of the role that you see him playing, and you know, it being a pretty smart piece of business. You're on mute, Shabs.
Pardon me. Absolutely. I think in terms of a Partey heir, yeah, it makes sense to me. I'm not I'm expecting him to play and perform a slightly different role to what Partey does. But that said, I'm not expecting him to partner up with Partey in midfield again, unless we do something quite radical. I say that because Partey, for me, definitely at Arsenal has looked at his best when he's tried to progress play through carrying the ball. Lokonga is a progressive passer, but what I understand a bit more about him is that his game, a lot of his game is based on facilitation. So he's a bit of a give and go player who, receives the ball, makes clever passes to find players into space, and then moves again to receive the ball. Does a lot of his work in the first and second phase, doesn't really move into or penetrate into the final third. So yeah, I do see them as being able to play together, definitely, and it being able to work, but I don't see that as the kind of primary plan. I think, if we see them playing together, it tells me that we've had to deviate from what we really wanted to do. And I think the transfer links as well kind of suggest that, with Xhaka being on his way out, the links to Neves, whether you like them or not, there are links there. There are links to Locatelli. There are links to different types of midfielders, really. So yeah, it tells me that Lokonga is not part of the plan A. But yeah, it could work, definitely.
Cool. I guess what we'll do now is because we got so many people in here, I actually want to just what am I doing? I want people to send in their questions for us to answer. So for the last maybe 15 minutes, if we missed any topics, I guess people can send in questions and we can answer them. David Ade, I'll start with David Ade. Big up you, David Ade, for tuning in on the YouTube. Like and subscribe, people. Like and subscribe if you are here. David Ade asks, is Lokonga better than Guendouzi though?
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, look. Who said I hope so? Who said that?
Me.
You said it. You were fucking Guendouzi's biggest fan, mate.
Bruv, I hope he's better than him, bruv. I really do.
Okay. So. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
No, I'm actually doing a Kodak thing because I've got the ballet on. I know.
Yeah. No, I know Kodak. I got it as well.
I knew Man and Shabs would get it, but yeah.
Listen, none of that. Yeah, I know who Kodak Black is. All right.
This chaos.
Okay, let's wait for some questions to come in.
I've got a question.
Go on.
How do you not feel, because I'm getting pissed off with these links. If our club spends 50 mil on Ben White, 30 mil on Ramsdale, 40 mil.
We ain't even spoke about Ramsdale, actually.
Yeah, the Ramsdale
40 mil on Tammy Abraham. And then obviously we spent whatever it is we're spending already. So if the first time we get money and we spunk over 150 on this kind of stuff, how do you feel?
I think we're entering a competition on how much money can you spend on English players with the fewest amount of caps. I think that's the competition we're playing right now, because that would be, Ben White, look, I think it's too much money, right? However, I think he is likely going to be a good player. Okay, I haven't seen enough of him, so I don't want to nail my flag to the mast and be like, yeah, he's going to be excellent. But I think he's a good player. I don't think he's 50 million good.
But at this point, he has to be good. And this is the problem. At this point, marquee signing, it might be our most expensive signing of this window. He has to be good, but there's no turning back for me now. I'm kind of like, we've had to accept it. He has to be good. There's no bedding in time. There's nothing else. He's already played in the Prem. He's already played under Bielsa. He knows the type of football that Arteta wants to play. Ben White has to come up good. I'm saying it as it is. Like, we can't be having no excuses. Like,
I think that's exactly right, Shabs. I think he just puts immediate pressure on him because I think if you gave like most Arsenal fans a list of priorities, centre back probably wouldn't have been high up on that list, but it's high up on these guys' list, and that's what. And to be fair, this is what we've been hearing since like February. time that right centre back was going to be a priority. So, you know, he has to come in and slap immediately from defensive point of view, and also from a build-up point of view, because, you know, that's what we've been hearing, this, that, and the other, that he's going to improve our build-up, etc. I think on the business as a whole, right? I think the way of looking at it, I think we have to look at it holistically, because, you know, number one, Arteta was made manager before summer transfer window last year. There were some issues with Raul and Edu and all of this stuff, Super League, this, that, and the other. Things have happened, COVID, this, that, and the other. But I think when you look at the business that they're trying to do now, we have to view it of like the whole thing. Like, they're the ones who have made these decisions last year. This is Arteta's regime, right? So when I look at this goalkeeping situation now, right, I think last summer we looked at the Martinez sale. I'm not trying to re-legislate that, go over it again, but I think the last summer that Martinez sale was justified for a number of reasons, right? So they said we needed the cash. We don't know if we could have got Partey without the sale of Martinez. We don't know if we needed that sale to get Gabriel in, etc., right? Martinez said he didn't want to compete. He was probably going to start the first game of the season, but he said he wanted to be guaranteed number one. We said we couldn't do that. And then we also were told that, you know, we could get a new homegrown goalkeeper in quite easily and cheaply. Do you know what I mean? We kept Matt Macy around for a year, even though we knew that he wasn't going to really play for that reason, etc. So if all of these reasons are why you sold Martinez, and then a whole summer later, less than 12 months after you've not qualified for Europe, you have got a whole season without any fan ticket income, right? Now all of a sudden you're bidding 30 million for Buendia, you're paying 50 million for Ben White, you're having 2 bids rejected for Aaron Ramsdale, you're having 40 million bid for Locatelli. So that means, number one, did we need the money or not to make them signings last summer? Because we're actually in a worse financial position now. So did we need the money? Doesn't seem like we did. Number two, you're now in the hunt for a homegrown keeper, but you're bidding 20 million plus, from what I'm reading, for Aaron Ramsdale. So that's...
And they want 32 million, right?
They want 32 million. So now you're paying more money than what Martinez got you in. So that homegrown reason is now completely gone out the window. And then they're saying they want you to compete with Leno to be number one, which Martinez would have been doing anyways last summer. So I find it like flabbergasting, because, you know, I think you can justify that Martinez sell. I didn't want to sell him, but I thought, yeah, fine. Last summer, you know, XYZ, for the reasons I stated, we did what we needed to do. But now if you turn around and just flip it on its head, all of those reasons have gone out the window. It says to me that you guys genuinely don't have a plan. You don't know what you're doing, because, like, really and truly, if you're gonna sell like more of these players who people are a bit iffy about, and then a summer later you're struggling to find replacements for them. Like, say we sell Xhaka, and then they go and bring Ruben Neves. You know, that says to me, like, what are we really doing here? Because how much have you really improved the team by making that signing? Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't fill me with confidence evaluating these men and their business.
It doesn't fill me with confidence as well, knowing our track record of goalkeepers recently, if I'm being honest. Like, you know, we just signed Runnison, who, you know, like, I know we were calling Ramsdale the worst goalkeeper in the Prem. I think Ramsdale would be pretty hard pressed to be worse than Runnison. I think in regards to Ramsdale, I've been, even before he was linked to Arsenal, right? I was like, this guy is not it. He is probably one of the worst goalkeepers in the Premier League, right? And I just don't understand it. I can't understand it. You know, I think we've got a real issue with identifying goalkeeping talent. And that's quite scary, because we've seen with Chelsea the difference that a goalkeeper can make. I used to be of the opinion that, a goalkeeper doesn't really make too much of a difference, you know, maybe, you know, a couple points here or there. But we've seen what having a goalkeeper like Kepa in goal compared to someone like now Mendy does is it is literally transformational to your season, right? You can have the exact same defense, the exact same team, and a goalkeeper can make all the difference. And I'd be fucking shit scared if we were relying on Aaron Ramsdale. Now, I looked at his stats, right? I was expecting his stats to be a lot worse, right? I was expecting him to be, bottom tier in most things, but he actually isn't. And when you go off like the advanced metrics, like the post XG, post shot XG stuff, all of that, he actually ranks fairly okay in it. He's in the positives at least, so he's not conceding more than he should be, which surprised me, because whenever I look at him, I'm like, every long shot fucking goes in. Do you know what I mean?
Does he rank £32 million fairly okay?
Definitely not for me. Definitely not for me.
Because this is it for me, man. Like, you've got who's the other one? The English keeper who's attainable for a lot cheaper. I can't think now. Sam Johnston. Sam
Johnston looks better to me.
He's a better keeper than Ramsdale.
Yeah.
He's a better keeper.
He's a lot cheaper.
But he's not got the reputation of Ramsdale. Ramsdale seems to have this reputation. I think that's because born of, he's got Player of the Year for Sheffield United. He's been involved in the England setup. Sam Johnston don't really have that reputation.
I just don't think that matters. I think he's available for 10 mil. I think there's Matt Ryan, who, we had on loan last season. I think he's available on a free. I would much rather Matt Ryan. I can see your face, Lewis. I would much rather Matt Ryan than 30.
No, I agree.
On Ramsdale. There's Onana. Like, he's attainable. The figures we're talking about, Leon can't stamp up 10 million euros for Onana. Like, come on, man. Like, we can do something there. Like that. This is a Champions League level goalkeeper. Yeah, who is arguably better than Bernd Leno. Yeah, who is attainable, who knows how to play with his, with the ball, his feet, who is attainable for less than £10 million. Yeah, like the business sense is not sensing to me. It's not. I'm struggling.
No, I agree.
Generally, can anyone see logic in
the only logic I can see
Ramsdale over Onana?
No. The only thing is the homegrown, but does the homegrown thing really matter that much? Like, is it really that important?
We just signed Ben White. We've got another homegrown player.
And we're being linked to James Maddison. And,
the homegrown thing ain't that deep. Arsenal are never going to get handicapped by homegrown restrictions. And we're not in Europe this season either, so it doesn't actually matter. But I think the
problem with that is we can only have 17 non-homegrown players, and we've got a lot of people who are non-homegrown, even though we don't really want them. So that's I think what the issue is.
No,
I think having a home,
and you don't have to register under 21 players either. So someone like Martinelli, you have to register him.
I think that non-homegrown thing is overblown. I think it is very overblown, because if you look at it, a lot of them are on the transfer list. Like Willian, Xhaka, who else is there? Ceballos is already gone. Luiz is already gone. Runnelson's probably already going. That's 5. They're off the bat. So then so you're basically like, you've got 5 spots there, like irrespective of how many homegrown players you have. Full stop. So
I don't think it's a homegrown status thing. I think they're looking at English core. I think that's what they're looking at. I think they want this to be the identity of the team, and they're looking to go English goalkeeper, English defenders or British defenders, and maybe like a British midfield and forwards as well. I think that is what they're looking to do. When we all got made fun of having that English core a few years ago of Jenkinson, Kieran Gibbs, and all these players. But I think they're trying to, really go for it this time. And I think they're just getting it really wrong. They're identifying the wrong English talent, in my opinion. But yeah, look, I don't want to waste too much time on Aaron Ramsdale. I think we're all really much against it. And it's scary times. It really is scary times. And we'll wait and see. I'm hoping that it's the rumors aren't true. But what I am seeing is a lot of people are talking themselves into it, man. And a lot of people, I respect their football views. They're talking themselves into this signing. And that's not the way to look at transfers, guys, man. Just because we're linked to someone doesn't mean you have to like it. You know, if we're going to be linked to fucking, who's a shit player in the Premier League? Any one of West Brom's players last year, just because we're linked to them, we don't need to rate them just because they're linked to us. And I think some Arsenal fans have a real issue with that. You know, because we're linked to them, we have to find the positives in them signing. I don't think we need to do that, man. We need to be a bit more objective with our thoughts on these things. Anyway, guys, like I did say, I opened up the floor to you to send in some questions. I'll go up and we'll do like a quick fire round because I know we got some up here. Okay, so Nathan, big up you, Nathan. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe. He asked, who was worse, Andre Santos or Armand Traore? Boy,
Santos.
Andre Santos, easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
You think he was worse than Traore?
That guy was an absolute joker.
Boy, I don't know, you know. Don't you remember what Drogba did to Traore?
That's Drogba, man. That's Drogba.
Andre Santos was a joker.
At least Andre Santos could play football. What was Armand Traore's like special quality?
Nah. He couldn't play
He
football.
was fast. Armand Traore was quick still.
That was when we were doing the conveyor belt of left backs who all look the same, right?
French left back, yeah. Him, Clichy, all of that,
yeah. All right, okay. David Ade, he asks, would you take Hendo? We are linked to him. Where is this Henderson link coming from? I haven't seen any of this. What's this all about?
I see it today. We were linked with Jordan Henderson because he's got one more year left. I think it's a bullshit link, and I wouldn't take it.
Right.
We can't be doing that. We can't be doing that kind of business. We can't.
Good player though, Henderson, right?
Yeah, he's a good player.
Not for me. I think he's overrated. I can't lie.
You think he's overrated?
Yeah. I think he's.
I actually think Henderson. It got to the point where Henderson was quite an underrated player. I thought it got to the point where people were really sleeping on Henderson, and he became a bit of a laughing stock for reasons that I didn't really agree with. Actually, to be honest, I probably take the piss out of Jordan Henderson as well, but I think just for banterous purposes. But as a footballer, I don't think he's as bad as people have made him out to be. Actually,
no, he's not. I don't think he's overrated. I don't think, apart from Liverpool fans, I'm not hearing too many sections of anyone overrating Henderson. I just think he's a good player because he is. Like, I think we'd be foolish to argue that he's not a good player. Like, he's played at a good level for the majority of his footballing career. You know, he's a good footballer, but I don't want to overamp it. But he's not. You can be good, but just not be the right fit for us. I don't think he's what we need. That's it.
I think that's fair. And I think injury prone. He's 31. He's not going to get better. I do think, you know, if he was like 3 years younger, and we've seen this Jordan Henderson that we'd seen for the past 3 years, we could get that Jordan Henderson. I wouldn't mind it at all. I think he is a good player. I think he's underrated. I think he's improved a lot since Klopp's been there.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, he's got the leadership qualities that we're probably lacking. But I think, you know, if the club that he's done all of this stuff with isn't willing to give him the 3-year contract, etc., and we are, that's alarm bells ringing to me. I think we've done that enough. We don't need to do that again.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Paul Bradley, big up you, Paul. Like and subscribe, please. Paul Bradley asks, who would be your first choice to replace Arteta, guys? Paul Bradley, I don't know if you've been reading the chat as we've been going along, guys, but Paul is very much Arteta out. He's been saying some pretty mad things about Arteta, I must say. But I will ask this question: who would be your first choice to replace Arteta? Because I don't think it's actually an easy question to answer. Actually, I don't think we're hugely attractive to the top managers, and the top managers all seem to be in top jobs. So unless, you know, things can happen over the space of a season, right? You know, top managers can lose their job, reputations fall. You know, who knows what could happen? Managers become available, and we wouldn't maybe expect them to come available. So, what do you guys think about an Arteta replacement? Have you guys had a chance to think about stuff like that? You know, because it's a difficult thing to think about when we don't think we're really that close to sacking him, right? I think Arteta is pretty comfy in a job right now.
Jesse Marsh, Marco Rosa, or
oh, where's Shabs gone?
I don't know. I don't know. But I'm interested to see, just as he said, I'm interested to see how Marco Rosa does at is he at Dortmund now this season?
I think so.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
I'm interested to see how he does at Dortmund, because that's someone I'd be looking at. Obviously, it'd be hard to get him out of Dortmund. Except him, I'd be looking at, even though I'm not really keen on the Spanish coaches at the moment, I'll be looking at Sevilla. What's his name? What's his name at Sevilla? He was at Madrid. Lopetegui. Yeah. I'll be looking at him as well. And those are the two that I can really come to think of at the top of my head, to be honest. None of
the Premier League coaches?
Nah, not for me.
For me, number one choice would be Conte. I know people.
You think that's attainable, though?
100% think it's attainable.
Yeah.
You know, I think all of this talk about Conte, you know, about what he does in the transfer market, I think is definitely overstated. I think he can work within a budget. I think he can work with project players. I think he improves players. I think he plays not the most attractive football, but I think his football is good. I think he has a clear way of playing, good communicator, and he's a winner on top. I think people, you know, we're not in a position to really turn our nose up at anyone. But if we could give the keys to any manager in world football, I would give it to Conte. You know, we have this whole, you know, manager, director of football type structure that we've set up with Arteta. If we want someone to come in there and tell everyone in the hierarchy what they need to do, who they need to bring in, and let the manager run the show, I don't think there's anyone better, personally. People talk about him wanting to sign older players, this, that, and the other. I think that's overstated. You know, he worked with Barella, turned Hakimi into probably, you know, one of the best fullbacks in the world. You know, there's other young players they have in that Inter team.
Lukaku.
Yeah, he improves players a lot. So I would 100% take Antonio Conte, man. 100%.
Yeah,
I'll definitely take Conte.
I mean, yeah, I think I just don't being attainable. And the thing about Conte is as well, I don't like his bitching and whining, but I think it might be needed at Arsenal, because he will force them to do stuff. Like, it will force them to spend 80 million on a striker. Like, it'll be like, I'm this guy, and I'm just gonna cry and moan until it happens.
And if you don't get him, I'm gonna leave in the middle of while we're top of the table with like 4 games to go or something.
Yeah, no, definitely. And sorry, I got cut off. Well,
no, it's cool, Shabs.
But Mancini as well. After that Euros performance, I would take Mancini. I do. Cause I thought about him, and I thought I do like him. I did like him at Man City. I think he was harshly run out of Man City, to be fair. And I think he's gone on to do decent things. Like, you know, where was he at? Zenit, St. Petersburg. I think they did all right. Considering the level, I think he did all right there. But I really liked what I saw from the Italy team, how they set up in the Euros just gone. And I think, yeah, man, like he's probably one of the few national team managers that will be good in a top, you know, he could get a top job in a good European club as well. So yeah, I would take him as well as an outsider.
Perfect. Sam Noah, big up you, Sam. Like and subscribe, please. Everyone in the room, like and subscribe, please. Like and subscribe. He asks, who do you think the number 1 CM target is? There's Basuma and Renato, but there's no chat these days about them. It is interesting, right? Because we've said it numerous times. Basuma looks like the easiest deal in the world to do, per se. I wouldn't say easiest deal, but, you know, it's there for the taking. You know, I'm pretty sure Brighton would accept 40 million for him, and it's done. So, you know, Renato is a different case. I don't know what Lille's financial situation is saying. Is it the same as the other French clubs? I'm not too sure. And they've sold Samare, so I don't know, if Renato is readily available like that. But why do you think talks on Basuma are still? Is it because Basuma is not the number one target? Is he pretty down our target list? And players such as Neves and who else have we been linked to? Locatelli are rank higher on the priority list than a Basuma?
I think the talk all summer is that, from Fabrizio, is that Arsenal are looking for a different type of midfielder to Basuma, right? I think the fact that, all the reports are saying that we've got the 40 million euro cash on the table there for Sassuolo to take, says that that's our top target, for Locatelli. And I think it will probably depend on what happens to that situation. If we get Locatelli, I will firm not getting Basuma personally, because I think he probably gives you a bit more passing. I think he does have that ball carrying in him as well, that Basuma does. And he's a nice age as well. So I wouldn't mind that signing. If you ask me to pick, I think I'd be 50-50 on Basuma and Locatelli personally. But it's
an interesting question.
Yeah, but I think it's clear to me that Locatelli is the first choice. And then we'll see what happens. If that happens, then sorry to Basuma, because he's been slutting for this move hard. But if it doesn't, then I think we might be able to take a look at Basuma later.
Is Basuma looking like a end of window kind of deal? Because I don't think Arteta would be too concerned about going into the start of the season with a party, and even though it's not what we want to see, he'll probably look at his midfield options and be like, well, we've got Partey, we've got El Neni, and we've got Lokonga in. That's probably enough to see us through the first month of the first month of August, the first month of the season. So maybe that's why a centre midfielder isn't, being rushed through at the moment. He's thinking maybe he's got his 3 CMs for now, and whenever the additional one comes, so be it. Obviously, we all want our players here for the first game of the season, but it doesn't necessarily always work out that way, does it?
I disagree. I feel like the only reason we've not seen the CM rumors ramp up is because that one's dependent on Xhaka and other players. I feel like if Xhaka and Torreira go out, then they'll ramp up. But the longer the Xhaka deal takes, I don't see us.
But what do you make of the Locatelli stuff, though? Because that doesn't seem to be going away. That seems like we put the cash up for Locatelli. So yeah, obviously we're doing our gisting now. We're getting in position, but we're not forcing the issue, because obviously that's this Juve thing. But the thing is, if Locatelli, we'd want to get an answer for and get someone in if the season's coming around quick and Xhaka's gone, because then I feel like Arteta will want 2 senior members in ASAP. So I feel like it's really a lot is based on our outgoing business, to be honest with you. Wait, just out of curiosity, Leroy, how do you rank Leroy, Locatelli, Basuma, and Renato? I don't fancy you much as a centre midfielder, to be fair, mate.
Hi, mate. I'm too stiff. But yeah, to be honest, from what I saw of Locatelli, I liked, but I haven't watched much of him outside the Euros, so I can't really give you a firm opinion. I think Renato is a big gamble. Big gamble. I know he's done well when he's sort of rejuvenated his career, but I still think because he's not done very well in this league, he's doing well in the French league, fair enough, but that's a big gamble. Basuma is a safe option, tried and tested. So it would be Basuma because I know the most about him, then Locatelli, then Renato.
What about you, Shabs?
It's tough, It's a tough split. I really like Locatelli. You don't will know and recall me singing the boys' praises from early doors before the tournament. And I'd probably take him, to be fair. Although my belief is that Basuma would probably be a better fit, and there's less risk attached because he knows the league better. And I think it would be quite a formidable midfield pairing of Basuma and Partey, and then you got Sambi Lokonga coming in as well. I think that's hard to mess with. So yeah, there's a side, but yeah, the wacko in me would go for Locatelli.
I can't lie. The more I watch Locatelli, the more I'm like, yeah.
Baller,
I like the look of this guy. I like the look at him.
Wavy.
Yeah, normally I would say no to Serie A players, but he looks like he's got a bit more about him. You know, he doesn't look like he's a player that would necessarily struggle in the Premier League. I think he's got the physical attributes and the intensity to really play. The style of football that the Premier League demands, and I really like him. But I like Basuma as well. Renato's been doing good things at Lille. He looks like a fucking baller. But I understand Leroy's concerns about it being a gamble. But he's still so young. He went to Swansea at 19 years old, 18 years old. Like we were just talking about. Leroy, you said yourself. A loan could flop for someone like Balogun. It doesn't mean that he is. Doesn't mean that he's not necessarily a talented footballer. It just might have been a crap loan for him, like not the right environment for him to play in. So I think Renato has shown now at a higher level, playing for Lille, helping them win the league, that he is, cut off the right stuff, and he is someone to be reckoned with. I think he's definitely someone we should be looking at. And if we sign Renato, I'd be very excited about that signing. Really excited, because I think. You look at a Renato Sanchez and a Partey midfield. Listen, Partey might have to have his gas mask on, but it would certainly be a very good technical midfield, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
All
right, cool. Go on, Dan.
No, I was just going to say on Renato, I think it gives that your midfield a little bit extra, because he can play behind the ball and also play in front of it as well. So. Say if you're chasing a game, then he can, sort of make them late runs and make them drive and runs into the box. So I think you get a bit more variety from your CMs with him. So I'd be up. Any three of them, if you bring any three of them, I'd be buzzing.
I just want to finish on this last question from Yannick Mac. Thank you for all your questions, guys. I tried to vary it up with the people sending it in. So big up everyone. Yannick Mac. He asked, does the fact we're looking at a box-to-box midfielder mean Arteta is going to play Partey in the 6? He didn't... Where did Partey play the other day? Did we get any indication as to, where... who was who was playing as the 6 the other day?
I can't even remember.
I can't remember either. But it was one of them games we just had like 70% of the ball. So I think him and Elneny were just kind of rotating it.
Yeah, they were just moving around. I mean... To answer this question, I don't think it does. I don't think the players that we've looked at have been purely box to box. I think they've had a bit of multifunction about them.
Yeah, Neves is not a box to box midfielder.
I wouldn't say Neves is a box to box midfielder at all. I wouldn't class Locatelli as a box to box midfielder.
No.
I think they can do both. They can play 6. They can play 8. Locatelli definitely can receive the ball off the centre backs, and he's a very progressive passer. That's what his game's been primed on at Sassuolo. That's why Juve want him so much. So if he came, I would see him fulfilling a role very similar to what Xhaka has been doing for us for all these years, or been trying to do to a much higher quality. I think Bissouma definitely a bit more of the box to box mold, but is very good at ball recoveries, is very good at positioning, can play in the 6, can play that 6 role, can offer that defensive cover, and allow Partey the room and the freedom to roam without needing to adapt his game. And I think Partey can do that as well. And I think that's what Arteta wants. He likes dual function players. He likes players who can offer a bit more than just the one standard thing. He likes a bit of a varied threat. He just hasn't figured out how to get the varied threat in the way he sets his teams up. But yeah, I think he likes these kinds of players who can do a bit of both.
Yeah. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Dan, Shabs, Leroy, thank you, Leroy. I know you. Listen, you bowed to the pressure, mate. The air conditioning didn't save you in the end. I know you had to take the mask off. At the end of the day, the listeners were right. The listeners were right.
No. It's actually on, but my missus.
Wait, you're on and you're not on screen. What kind of maniac are you?
My missus came in the room. I had to switch the thing off really quickly. So it's fine. It's actually...
Leroy is about to go do a bank robbery after. Well, Apple banks aren't open, so maybe not bank robbery. Maybe some kind of other robbery. But yeah, guys, everyone, thank you for tuning in on YouTube. It's been a good episode, been a good pod. Thank you for all your interaction and questions and comments. We're going to be back again with another Patreon piece this week. Not too sure what we're discussing. Shabs came up with a good idea today. So there will definitely be another Patreon piece this week. So head on over to our Patreon where you can access some extra content. We already did, as mentioned earlier, a scouting piece on Maddison. We've done one on Lokonga as well. One to come on Ben White. So plenty of content for you over there. Go and subscribe to us, support the channel, and we'll be back. If you don't fancy supporting us, we'll be back with another free podcast for you next week. So ciao until then, guys. Take it easy.